Hello and welcome to another exciting show of Whether or Not. Today we have wonderful nature in the news stories featuring earthquakes, hurricanes, and El Nino conditions. Brian will be giving us a wonderful weekend forecast, and Marissa is here with your feature on record-breaking winter storms. Stay tuned because Whether or Not starts right now. Hello and welcome to Whether or Not. I'm your host, Ann Rodden.
And I'm your forecaster, Brian Mastro.
State College has whipped out its snow boots finally, right, Brian?
Yeah, for the first time this season, we had some snow earlier this week in State College, and it's gotten quite chilly as well. And we'll see if that will be sticking around later on in my forecast.
That's right. But for now, let's hear some Nature in the News features.
The Pacific Ocean set its record for the earliest forming hurricane. Hurricane Polly formed earlier this week and is truly a meteorological marvel. Not only is it rare for tropical systems to form this early in the year in the northern hemisphere, but Polly is also much closer to the equator than a typical tropical system. Polly became a Category 2 hurricane on Wednesday and is expected to weaken and stay well away from land in the next few days. Meanwhile, in the Atlantic, they also got their first tropical system of the season as well, as subtropical storm Alex formed on Wednesday. Like Polly in the Pacific, it is expected to stay well away from land and move northward into the colder North Atlantic waters.
A new study reports that clouds help amplify the El Nino effect on the atmosphere more so than previously thought. The El Nino's conditions create unusually warm sea surface temperatures in the Pacific Ocean, allowing tall cumulonimbus clouds, also known as thunderstorms, to form over the water. Above these clouds, an additional layer of thin clouds known as cirrus clouds trap the heat from the Earth. This additional heat will further warm the atmosphere, leaving scientists who have previously underestimated the strength of the El Nino event by about 2/3 if the clouds are not factored in.
It took longer than expected, but State College finally has a new resident. Old Man Winter is finally here for the first time this season, when State College received about an inch of snowfall this past Tuesday. If you were thinking that it was extremely late to have to clean off your car or shovel your property, you're not wrong. State College records go back to 1893, and this winter shattered the old record for latest measurable snowfall by more than 2 weeks. The old record was December 26, set back in 1923. This year's new record was spurred on by another record. State College also had its warmest December on record, with an average December temperature of 41.4 degrees, breaking the old record of 38.9 degrees set back in 2006. However, now the warmth is gone and the snow is here. Find out how much Old Man Winter will be impacting you this weekend and later on, upcoming in our forecast.
Research teams has evaluated the major 7.8 magnitude subduction zone of the earthquake in Nepal back in April of 2015. The most shocking result of this earthquake were the number and severity of landslides. Although Nepal is in dry season where the soils were most stable, there were tens of thousands of landslides in that region. Experts claim the landslides caused extensive damage and while burying entire towns, peoples, blocked rivers, and cut off roads. The current estimate of the Nepal earthquake suggests 25 to 60,000 landslides occurred.
Hello, I'm Brian Mastro. We're going to take a look at your central Pennsylvania forecast. We're going to start with the setup that we have for this Friday, and we do have quite the complicated setup for this weekend. As you notice, we do have this low pressure system setting up over the Great Lakes region, and there's just a whole mess of precipitation across the eastern United States. There's rain down to our south, there's snow up to our north, And we're going to get a little bit of both of that here in Pennsylvania, along with maybe even some sleet mixing in as well during the day on Friday, especially once we get into Friday evening is when that'll begin to arrive in here in central Pennsylvania. Now going into Saturday, the system gets even more complicated as we now have a low pressure system setting up over the Atlantic Ocean, bringing more moisture into the area as well. As that cold front is now crossing over central Pennsylvania, we're looking at mostly rain for the coast and then once again snow up to our north and to our west. And once again here in central Pennsylvania, it'll be a little bit too warm for an all snow event. However, especially once we get into Saturday night, we are expecting some snow showers. But mostly during the day on Saturday, we're just looking at more wintry mix and even some rain once we do get up towards our high temperature for Saturday. And then going into Sunday, that load has moved off into maritime area Canada, and that low has also slid to the north. So it's much less complicated for us here in central Pennsylvania. Nowhere near as much precipitation itself. However, we will still have some lingering snow showers, nothing too serious, just some flurries scattered around throughout the day. However, once this cold front does pass through, it will get quite chilly behind it as our high will not reach the freezing point on Sunday. So what are we actually looking at for this weekend? For your day on Friday, we're expecting a high temperature of around 44 degrees under partly sunny skies. But then as we get into Friday evening and Friday night, that system does begin to work into our area. So we'll have a low of around 32 degrees with rain showers early, changing over to snow overnight. And then Saturday, mostly during the day, we're expecting a lot of wintry mixed precipitation, mostly becoming rain once it does get up near a high of 39 degrees. And then going into Saturday night, we are expecting that to change back over to a more wintry mix and some snow as well, as we'll be dropping all the way down to 25 degrees Saturday night before we really cool down a lot. Only 29 degrees for our high on Sunday with those lingering light snow showers throughout the day. So now let's go to Marissa Lautenbacher with a feature on the warm winter we've had so far.
When you think of the start of winter, snow lovers bask in the thought of a white Christmas to bring the holidays around. Others may not feel the same as they trudge through the darkest and coldest months out of the year, hoping for spring. To many people along the East Coast, it seems that this winter hasn't even started to feel cold until after New Year's Day. Because of this, December was the warmest that Pennsylvania has ever seen. This December has been the warmest December on record, with the average temperature for last month being 45.4 degrees in Harrisburg. I asked local meteorologists at ABC 27 News what their thoughts were on this record-smashing warmth. Brett Thacker explains how December was unlike any other in central Pennsylvania.
The top 5 winters, there are 4 that are clumped together like at 41.8, 41.9 degrees, and then this winter was somewhere like 44, 45 degrees, the average temperature, at least to start in December. So the fact that it was so warm and so rainy in December, it's not really typically what we see in a normal winter.
December was the warmest on record by far. I mean, when you look at the comparison to previous years, it's going to look like a typo in the record books. 5, 4, 3, 2 are all bunched together, and then number 1 is by far 2015.
Not only was this winter warm, but along with the warmth came the fog and the rain. South Central PA had a third of the month with rainy, dreary, and overcast skies. To some, it might have even felt like Halloween was still lingering around instead of Christmas being right around the corner.
Actually, it was weird because when I did come back, it was still like 60, sometimes 70 degrees. So one day it'd be like 70 degrees and the next it'd be like 50. So on the days that it was 70 degrees, it was kind of felt like Florida weather. Like Christmas Eve and Christmas Day are the only 2 days that snow is acceptable to me. So yeah, I do like a white Christmas.
Not only was this past month dampening on the spirits of snow lovers, but detrimental to local ski resorts such as Ski Round Top.
In my memory, I can remember a couple of years that maybe it took until Christmas. Never seen anything like this. The fact that they had to wait until the new year to open up is horrible for them because they rely on that business. There's so many people that book condos and whatnot, and they could probably speak to this better. But the amount of money that they lost between the Christmas and New Year's holiday for people that had plans to go to these mountains, stay in the condos, and go skiing for a couple days of the week, all that money was lost by these resorts that kind of depend on it.
This has been the only year where Ski Round Top Mountain Resort hasn't been able to open before the new year, which has been devastating for the profits of the resort this year. Luckily, Round Top was able to finally open their resort this past week with plenty of machine-groomed snow to open 4 of the main slopes. The winter has just begun, and meteorologists aren't sure exactly when the snow will come this year, but with an El Niño pattern in the Pacific, it does play a role in Pennsylvania weather.
In an El Nino type pattern, we often see warmer conditions during the winter and more moisture with rain. So when you look at that and you compare it to what people are used to, viewers are a little antsy for snow. They want to see a big snowstorm. They want to see, they want to go skiing. They want to go sledding. They want a day off of school.
This is dramatically different than what was experienced last year. Many people think that because last winter was so cold, that this winter would be too. It might not be a cold, icy tundra in the Commonwealth, but we could experience a few heavy snow events this winter with an El Niño pattern.
Last 2 winters were so cold. We set records for cold. In February last year, we had a persistent upper level trough that sat over the northeast U.S., where we were getting a lot of our air draining down from Canada. The West Coast, warm and dry. They were getting a big ridge sitting over top them. Well, this winter so far, that has kind of been reversed. The west has been a little bit cooler, the east has been warmer because we're getting a big ridge of warm air. All of our flow is coming from the south, and because of that, we get a lot of Gulf moisture flowing north across the mid-Atlantic. That has to do with the Pacific Ocean temperatures, which are very warm right now because we're in kind of an El Nino year.
If we're on the cold side of a couple of storms, we can get our seasonal average. We can get right back to average for the year, if not even above. But we'd have to be on the right side of the storm, the cold side of the storm. If we get all those storms and we're on the warm side, we're not going to get much of any snow this year. It's going to be very different than the last couple of years in terms of the type of snow that we see. Not an inch or two piling up day after day, but big blockbuster storms.
Just hold on and wait and see, snow lovers, because this winter isn't over yet, and it has just begun. For Weather or Not, I'm Marissa Lautenbacher.
Thank you for that, Marissa. As we've already seen last week, that warmth has ended and the cold has moved in. And we'll see just how much is coming our way right now in the extended forecast. But we'll start with our weekend recap. For your day on Friday, we're expecting a wintry mix to be moving into our area Friday evening after a partly cloudy day, with that high of around 44 dropping around to 32 degrees overnight. And then on Saturday, that wintry mix will be continuing throughout much of the day on Saturday, changing over to rain once we do get up near a high of 39 degrees, and then changing back over to snow once overnight as we dip down to around 25 degrees. And then on Sunday, we'll be quite chilly, only high of 29 degrees, with those light snow showers lingering around in our area. So now let's take a look at our extended forecast. Winter is here to stay as we're expecting below average temperatures for pretty much all of next week. Like we saw on Sunday, some of those snow showers and light flurries will be lingering around into the day on Monday. Before it does clear up for most of the rest of the week, we will have some cloudy skies, especially in our area on Wednesday. But other than that, we're expecting just some chilly winter temperatures.
Well, thanks for that forecast, Brian. It looks pretty icy out there.
Yeah, it's going to be quite below average in terms of temperatures, and we do have that ice storm coming this weekend potentially. But we're still lacking overall in the snow department.
Yeah, you know what? I might have to keep out my boots for a little bit longer. All right, well, let's take a look at our Weather Whiz quiz this week. Which year holds the record for the warmest average temperature for the entire Earth? A, 1998, B, 2015, C, 2005, or D, 1982? If you picked B, 2015, you are correct.
Yeah, 2015, especially here in central Pennsylvania, is mostly going to be remembered for that brutally cold February that we had. However, throughout the rest of the year, especially once we got in December, and of course the rest of the planet too, was well above average for most of the year.
Yeah, December was pretty warm, but I do remember those freezing days in February. Well, thank you so much for watching. That's all we have today for Weather or Not. I'm your host, Ann Rodden.
And I'm your forecaster, Brian Mastro. Have a terrific rest of your day.